It's Sports Blitz. It is BearcastMedia.com. Just a reminder that you are listening to Bearcast, coming to you live from the Jack and Jones Strader Studio, part of the electronic media division of the College-Conservatory of Music at the University of Cincinnati. Now, we're going to play Fact or Fiction with Corie here, and it's a new segment we introduced about 3 weeks ago, and it's gotten a lot of good responses, so let's get started.
I'm ready. I'm blindfolded.
Now, for the first time, a program will be going behind the shroud of secrecy to help separate fact from fiction.
All right, fact or fiction number one. UC will lose to a team they've already lost to this year in the American Athletic Conference tournament.
Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Fiction. I think that they will not. I think that they'll really compete well moving forward. And my reason is I had a privilege to talk to those guys after the Xavier loss, and I told them that could be a building point for them. So hopefully that can carry over into the rest of the season. We went out and build that momentum, and we definitely don't lose to no one in our conference.
So I'm going to say fiction as well, but I think there's only one team in our conference that can truly beat us. Obviously, we've lost to Temple and Memphis, but I think SMU is really the only team that is going to come back. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if we lose, which I honestly don't believe we will, I think the guys are going to step up like Copain and our guards, and we're really going to actually pull out this tournament. I think if we lose to SMU.
All right. I think that this question, I'm not the biggest fan just because it all depends on who we face, in my opinion. But I'm going to have to say fact. Obviously, and again, it goes back to the matchup, and we're still a week and a half away from anything NCAA tournament or AAC tournament-wise. So obviously we don't know any of the matchups, but if I had to choose, I would say fact due to the inexperience on our roster. Most of the guys aren't used to playing on neutral floors or in a conference tournament at the Division I level. UC's one game on a neutral floor this year was a 66-59 loss to Ole Miss, which granted was earlier in the season, but the Cats were just entirely dominated that game. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but I will say fact here. All right, number 2.
Fact from fiction.
The usual suspects will carry the Bearcats during the American Athletic Conference tournament.
Definitely fact. I don't think that this team will have a surprise player show up out of nowhere, and it's going to be the key guys who've been doing it all year for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say fiction because I really want to believe. There's 2 reasons I say this. I really want to believe that guys like Coriante DeBerry and Shaq are really going to step up. And obviously Shaq has been one of the usual suspects recently, but just taking into account all of the season, I want to say that. But I think the other aspect of this, I think Octavius is going to have some attitude problems in this tournament. And he's shown a lot recently that he is kind of a nutcase, and he's getting mad. He's getting players. He almost got a technical yesterday for walking into one of the players when there was right before it went to TV timeout. So that could cause Coriante DeBerry to play some big minutes and make this question fiction. But I think at the end of the day, our starters and our first 2 bench guys are so strong that it's going to be the usual suspects. I think that Kevin Johnson is going to play a big role.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think that Gary Clark is going to find his groove, and he's going to start showing that upside that we just talked about. Sure. So I'm going to say fact.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you here, Kevin. I'm going to say fiction because I don't think we have any of these so-called usual suspects on our team this year. It's not like last year where you have Sean Kilpatrick and he was going to be your leading scorer every night and he was going to get you 20 points. This year is different. You don't have that. You have Octavius leading you one game, then maybe Troy, then maybe Farad, then maybe Shaquille Thomas, and then even Gary Clark. It seems like there's a leading scorer, there's a leader, depending on what game it is. And I don't think usual suspects exist on this team because it's usually somebody different every game who steps up and leads this team in scoring. By the way, that usually has to do with whoever they're facing, whatever the matchup is. So from that standpoint, I'm just going to say fiction. All right, number 3.
Fact from fiction.
The Bearcats need to win the American Athletic Conference tournament to get into the big dance this year.
I'm saying fact, but I'm saying it a little early because it depends on how they finish up. I think if we went out this regular season and go into the tournament and lose to a SMU, I think we're good, or lose to someone of that caliber. But I'm going to go with fact on that one.
Okay.
So I am going to say fiction again, but a little tentatively. I think that, like we just talked about, we don't have to win out the tournament again if we lose to people like SMU, lose to people that aren't Eastern Carolina, Tulane, stuff like that, which I think we showed that we can consistently beat. But at the end of the day, there's that upset mind, that you were just talking about. So if we lose to a team like that, we could be in trouble. If we lose to Tulsa here, we could be in trouble. But at the end of the day, I think we're in. I really do. I think we're going to be able to. We might lose to Memphis, but I don't think we lose to Tulsa.
All right, I think I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to say fiction. I think the last two games of the regular season have more bearing on whether we make it or not. Because, if you beat Tulsa, who has an RPI of 36, and Memphis, who has an RPI of 83, and win one game in the tournament, they should be in. They really should be, especially a win at Tulsa because it's a top 50 RPI team. However, if you split the final two games, I think it'll take 2 wins in the American Athletic Conference tournament to clinch a spot in the big dance. That's if they win. Now, if you lose both games, then I think that's the only situation where I would say that you would need to go all the way to make it in. But with 3 to 4 wins between the regular season and a win in the American Athletic Conference tournament, I think they should be fine. I'm going to say fiction. The Cats do not need to win this tournament unless they lose the final 2 games and they get blown out of the water. Like that is the only scenario where I could see that. Sports Blitz, it's bearcastmedia.com.